Well, good afternoon, Mr. Violet.
Well, good afternoon, although those who are watching may not be, it may not be afternoon. They may be watching some morning because that's the beauty of podcasts.
Well, I'm glad you recognize that there is beauty to
But
podcasts.
hello, it's good to see you.
How you been?
I'm fine. This hip replacement recovery, you were there when I had my two knees done because we were working together at GAN, and you know how easy that was. This has been a little more cumbersome. It's
It was
been a
supposed
little
to be
more.
easy. I thought a hip replacement was supposed to be the easiest.
That's what they told me. And as far as the actual replacement is concerned, it's really easy because the surgery literally took 37 minutes to do.
Yeah, it would have helped if you didn't fall down. That may have helped things.
Yeah. And so, this is on me because I pushed things stupidly. And so I kind of re-injured the area.
Hmm.
And then I had to go to physical therapy. And when I went to physical therapy, I hurt myself even more. So the doctor said, don't go to physical therapy. Anyway, long story short,
Mm.
I've given myself 2 weeks to take it easy, lay low, and I've walked a mile each the last 2 days. So
Wow. So you're
I'm
not. I'm assuming you're not playing in the Masters,
I
and I assume you're not playing in the NCAA tournament.
I was given an offer, a lifetime exemption to the Masters, but I turned it down.
Well, I think that's good of you, and I think many people would really be appreciative of that.
I would love to, however, have a $1.50 egg salad sandwich.
Yes, I'm telling you, I've been to the
I
Masters.
know. I've got the hat right over there. I still got your hat.
The greatest egg salad sandwiches for $1.50.
They're,
And a pimento cheese
yep,
sandwiches.
which I love. They're still $1.50. So, the Masters is Thursday. This is Masters weekend, and Tiger's going to play. Last year, remember, he had to withdraw, could not finish. Had another year to get healthy. There's a New York Post op-ed piece by one of their sports guys today, as we talk on Wednesday, saying that Tiger Woods has no chance to win the Masters. Do you agree or disagree with that, Ken?
Well, no chance.
It says Tiger Woods is fooling himself at the Masters.
I think he has a 1% chance. I mean,
Okay.
he's ranked like 987th in the world. I mean, look, if anybody could do it, it would be Tiger, but he is not. He didn't play in any tournament last month. No, he's not going to win. Are you asking me if he's going to win the Masters? No. Are you asking me if I would place a bet? I would bet $10 with 1,000 to 1 odds. That's what I do. He's not. Look, I love Tiger. He screwed his life up, and he screwed his head
Whatever.
in the great. I mean, he maybe was a greatest golfer in the world at one point, but no.
None of that matters. We forgive Tiger for any and every transgression. It simply does not matter. All I can say is that when Tiger Woods is in a tournament, it's a better tournament. So
Sure.
at least I hope he makes the cut. Will he win? No. Can he win? I say there's a 17% chance he can win.
17%?
Whatever.
Wow. That's better than I would give him.
So
Wow.
that I hope he does win. That said, I hope he does win. Now, if you're asking me who's going to win,
Yeah.
wow.
I don't, if Tiger's not in the tournament, I don't really follow it, to be honest with you.
Well, I do. It's the Masters. I mean, that doesn't.
The last day I'll watch an hour or two of the ending if it's looking pretty good. But when I went to the Masters, I didn't even go on the Sunday, the final day, because for whatever reason, when I was there, all the good players didn't make the cut. So it was like I don't even remember who won, but it was like a very low run golfer. So I played golf with my friend that day instead of playing at the Masters. So there you go. But it's the most beautiful golf course I
Yeah.
have ever seen in my life. There's not one weed within 20 miles of that golf course. It's
I have a couple of pals, John Beaupre and Mike Rentzer, who went for all four rounds a few years ago, and it was magical. I mean, it's 4 years later, they still talk about it. I would love to do it, but at least you got me a hat. So
the round
um,
that go. By the way, the Friday round is the round to go to before everybody misses the cut.
right.
Yeah.
So I should have also gotten a T-shirt that said Ken Altshuler went to the Masters, and I got this stupid hat.
And while we're on sports, should we really wrap up the NCAA? I didn't watch the men's.
Yeah,
Uh,
I did. I watched it for a half. But let's face it, the ratings are out, and the women outrated the men by about 4 million. It was 18 and a half for the women's Iowa South Carolina game.
Yeah.
and about 14 for the men's game. Interesting because the women's game is a 3 o'clock in the afternoon Sunday,
Yeah.
and the men's game is a 9:20 primetime affair. Now, the one caveat though is the men's game is not on free television. The
Right.
men's game was on TNT and TBS,
Right.
which a lot of people who are doing streaming now with Fubo or anything else, some people don't have that on their cable systems. I was talking to a friend this morning who doesn't have it. Meanwhile, the women's game was on ABC, so it was on free television. Some people actually still have rabbit ears, but not
You know,
many.
it's interesting and I've been watching YouTube a lot, not YouTube television, but YouTube. Within about 45 minutes, they had a condensed version of both games
Oh
on
yeah.
YouTube. I watched the entire women's game again in literally 20 minutes.
Yeah, I do that too. I didn't finish the men's game, so when I got up before I went to work, before I did anything, I'm still in bed and I watched it was 9 minutes and 20 seconds, I
Yeah.
recall, of the
Yeah.
whole, the key parts of the game.
Listen, South Carolina was the better team. Caitlin Clark was tremendous, but that team was so well balanced. The worst players on that team were as good as the second and third best players on
It's
Iowa.
funny the parallels between the women's game and the men's game. The
Yeah,
women's game, you had the stacked South Carolina team, tons of depth,
yeah.
height, everything. And you had the star, Caitlin Clark, with a team she dragged over the finish line. And on the men's side, you had the stacked UConn team playing to repeat against Zach Edey, who dragged his team over the finish line. So it was really a huge parallel. And UConn is unbelievable, and South Carolina is too. Don Staley does a great job there.
Yeah,
So
it's interesting. I didn't.
Caitlin Clark has changed the landscape of women's basketball.
And did you know Caitlin Clark was originally wanting to play for UConn,
Yeah,
and never came to interview her, never came to.
had very little interest in her.
Well, he didn't need it, I guess, although he probably would have won with her. But anyway, so okay. So
All
let's
right.
talk about some serious things. You want to talk about the
Well,
the two parents whose kid shot up a school getting jail sentences.
I do, Ken, but I think a better segue here, and you can tell how we just planned this whole thing out, can't you? A better segue here might be going from talking about Caitlin Clark and women's basketball to talking about men.
Oh, transgender issues. I
Yes,
love it. Well
transgender
done.
men.
Well done. Yeah, because what so go on. Why don't you introduce the topic, and then I'll opine as I
Okay,
go.
so the hold on here. I hope I accidentally,
The NAIA.
yeah, I've accidentally shut down. All right. So yeah, the NAIA, which represents some smaller schools when it comes to college sports. I'm not sure if they have any in Maine, but the governing body for mostly small colleges announced Monday that a policy that is that all but bans transgender athletes from competing in women's sports, and their council of presidents was unanimous. It was 20-0 in favor of banning transgender athletes. So there's that to chew on as this debate rages and gets even bigger. And I can't believe we actually have to have a debate over this, Ken. Um, if you have, here's my philosophy. If you have a penis, you play with the men. If you have a vagina, you play with the women. What's wrong with that
What
policy?
happens if you remove your penis and you build yourself a vagina?
What are your chromosomes?
Well, that's a different issue. Okay. So here's my view. This is a solution without a problem. The percentage of transgenders in our population is about 1.5%.
I don't care. You can't play.
If
If you want to play dress up and dress up as a
It's
chick,
not just cross dressing, Mike.
yeah, it's a mental illness, Ken. It's
No,
a mental illness.
it's not a
Yeah,
mental.
it is.
Why, Mike? People are wired differently. So is homosexuality
No,
mental illness? Why not?
no, you're talking about apples and manhole covers.
There's no difference between a man being attracted to a man and a man believing he is a woman in a man's body. There's no difference between those two concepts. There really is not. And the bottom line is that we are wired differently. Mentally, we are wired differently. And so there are people who feel that they're born in the wrong gender.
Okay, let's say your premise is right, Ken, and some 6'3", 195-pound man thinks he was born in the wrong body, and he starts wearing like Will Thomas, Leah Thomas, the swimmer from Pennsylvania, and starts and does that whole thing. And you have a daughter who is on the women's team, and that guy is kicking your daughter's ass, whether it's in the swimming pool or basketball court. Is that fair?
So let's talk about Leah Thomas. Thompson, I think was her name. Was
It
it
was Thomas.
Thomas? So first of all, the mistake in that case was the NCAA rules were pretty lax about how many years of hormonal treatment you have to be taking, because hormonal treatment really decreases your muscle mass, really decreases what you're able to do. And they allowed him to compete before they should have. However, by the time he got to the national NCAA tournament, do you know what place he came into in the national NCAA? He came in last place.
Good.
Didn't matter. It didn't matter
Good.
because the hormonal treatment reduces ability, and it was a more even playing field. I don't care if a woman in a man's body becomes a woman and does the surgery and does the hormones, and I'm not talking about for 6 weeks. I'm talking about for 2 years, 3 years. They have very little competitive edge because they just don't. And once again, we're talking about such a minute percentage of the
I don't
population.
care. I don't care.
So I think that we have to recognize our differences. It's not a mental illness whatsoever.
That is, you're mentally ill if you're putting women's clothes on and putting makeup and hair on, and
So
you're putting using fake tits. I'm sorry, you're mentally ill.
let me ask you a question. A woman who wants a breast enlargement, is she mentally ill?
No, Ken.
What's the difference? If I said, "Oh, I want breasts. I'm gonna go get breast implants." Why am I more mentally ill than a woman saying she wants to enlarge her breasts? What's the difference?
She's not trying to play for the other team, Ken.
She's changing her appearance. How
She's
about
not
nose job?
trying to play
I
for the
know.
other team.
I need my nose. Well,
Yeah,
she's
you do need your nose made smaller. There's
trying to
no doubt
play
about
for
it.
she's trying to play. She's trying to play for the team she believes she belongs on.
It doesn't work that way. You're either one or the other. You're born this way or that way. That's it. There's only two teams, and you can only be
Okay, so
one of
what
them
do you do?
ever.
Well, then, Mr. Scientist, what about people who are born with both genders?
With who?
There are people born with both sets of genders, with penises and testicles and vaginas, and they're born with both of them. There are
I,
people like that. There
I
are
never
people
saw that at the Skowhegan Fair. I'm sorry.
there are people born with XY chromosomes that have 3 chromosomes. So look, it's a solution without a problem, and it's
Yeah,
much about nothing, and it's fear mongering, and it's fretting about something that is not an issue. Just like we banned books in elementary school that talks about gays because, oh my God, that child's going to be turned into a gay because they read a book about gays. That's not how people become gay. That's not how people become a transgender.
people are born gay. I absolutely agree with that.
People are born transgender. People are born
No, they're
thinking
not.
of the wrong identity, the wrong gender identity.
Okay, they're not, but let's move on.
You're Neanderthal. Just own up to it.
All right, my knuckles are dragging on the floor here, waiting for us to talk about guns and shooting specifically. We've got a principal who got charged with a former assistant principal.
A vice principal who was told the teacher came in, one of the children's, this is a 6-year-old
A
who shot
6-year-old kid, yeah.
and came in and said, "Little Johnny, I saw Johnny was flashing his gun on the playground." That teacher came and told the principal, "One of my students saw the gun. I need to search the backpack." And the vice principal said, "No, we're not doing that." I mean, just completely negligent. I like the parents that got found guilty and sentenced for not taking necessary steps for protecting their child who was mentally ill. And
Mhm.
and I don't want to keep people out of the education process because they're scared of being liable. If you use some common sense, Mike, you're not going to be in trouble. Let me ask you, I have no doubt if you were the principal and a teacher came to you and said, "Hey, one of my kids said Johnny got a gun out of the playground." I don't think Mike Violet's going to say, "Yeah, boys will be boys. Let's not worry about
No,
it."
I'm not. He's getting searched and that gun's getting confiscated, and I'm calling the cops, and we're gonna do a complete and thorough investigation. And I probably, even though the kid is 6, I'm probably going to throw the kid out of school, expel the kid. Now that's that. I'm agreeing with you there. The Michigan parents thing, I think we're going down a slippery slope here. If this is how we're if every connection possible to a crime like this is prosecuted, if you will, or ending up in court, man, the court calendar is going to be full because this could extend to a lot of things.
Yeah, but those parents,
They're terrible parents.
they ignored the signs. They were told now there's a guidance counselor who did not follow up, and I think that's a problem. But they were told this kid was drawing pictures of guns and blood, and parents totally ignored it. I'm sorry. You can
And it's just like the shooting Robert Card here in Lewiston. All of the warning signs that were ignored, they've got video of the guy for
massive
Christ's sake.
failure. Massive failure. The Army is number one responsible for that, absolutely responsible for that. And frankly, I think the police department that didn't follow through and trusted the family to take care of it, that's insanity.
Yeah,
Insane.
and a family, to be honest with you, at the point where Heat Card was at, they're not going to be able to do anything. It's going to be some sort of authoritative figure to be able to do that. But we've got red in Augusta right now. They're doing red flags and
Good,
yellow flags and all
good,
that stuff.
good.
We've got the things in place. People just have to use them, and they're not.
It's interesting. After this Lewiston shooting, the yellow flag law was invoked something like 23 times effectively. It just what it was the law enforcement was too lazy to do it, frankly. The red flag law is better, whatever it takes to get guns out of the hands of crazy people.
Exactly.
I'm
I mean,
all for it.
it's incredibly hard to legislate crazy people, but we do have some stopgaps in place that can certainly help there. And people need to, it's better to err on the side of caution. And with the Card case, the mass shooting in Lewiston, man, everybody blew it.
Exactly. All right, before we close with talking about the eclipse, we need to talk about the no labels party.
Yes. No presidential ticket in 24, huh?
No labels, no candidate. This is
No,
good news
nothing.
good news for Joe Biden, I think, because I think Joe Biden would have been hurt by the no labels party. And for the no labels party to say, no, we weren't gonna hurt Joe Biden. No, this was gonna be an equal hurting both parties is nonsense. Because I think people who don't want to vote for Donald Trump and don't want to vote for Joe Biden would vote for no labels. But I think there's more of those people that would have, I think, gravitated away from Joe Biden. So I think it's good for Joe Biden. But there's never been a third party that's been successful ever. George Wallace is the only third party candidate who ever got an electoral vote, by the way. Even Ross Perot, who got 20% of the vote, never got an electoral vote.
Yeah.
So
in recent times, Ross Perot was the only one to get any tread, and that was minimal. He was funny and amusing. That's like crossing a polecat with a flamingo.
by the way, this is a little unfair of me because we didn't flag this, but Ray and I did talk about this on Political Brew about the Art Bell proposal in Maine to basically get rid of electoral college by having. So the proposal is whoever wins the national election, if you're a part of this compact state, there's 16 states now, so like a little over 200 votes. So if Donald Trump won the national election and our state voted for Joe Biden, we'd have to cast those 4 electoral votes for Donald Trump to kind of override the electoral college. And boy, Ray Richardson went on a rant about this. I think the electoral college is ridiculous. I think it's time to get rid of it anyway. We have 5 or 6 states that are deciding our election every year by being swing states. 1 vote, 1 person, I'm in. That's it.
Well, whatever Ray Richardson said, put a ditto by it or under it or around it for me, or quotation marks, because I think the Electoral College protects a lot of the integrity of the process to me.
You know
And
why the electoral college was developed? Let me tell you why.
tell me again, Uncle Kenny.
Because our forefathers, there were no foremothers, our
Right.
forefathers this first thought that the House of Representatives would elect every president because they thought 10 or 20 people would be running. So And it was really designed so if a Yahoo actually got elected, then the House of Representatives could override them using the Electoral College. That's what we didn't want any Yahoo elected president. And that's
Right.
why the Electoral College was developed. So you know what? It's an
Yeah.
elitist tool to suppress the everyday man or woman, although women
Oh,
didn't exist back then anyway. So
look
it's
what that electoral college did with Joe Biden. It got him elected.
so what do you think about the eclipse, my friend?
I'm not an Eclipse or was not an Eclipse geek. I thought it was much ado about nothing. I so enjoyed 20,000 people cramming into Jackman and Holton and all up north, and then forgetting that there's one road out and it's going to take you 14 hours to get home. There's one way in and one way out up there. But it
Yeah.
was crazy. I was watching the Channel 8 coverage, and they had John Chrysos and Megan Torgerson and Colleen, the weather girl, there. And it was like a freaking party. People were drinking. There were hot tubs. I was taking bids on who's going to jump into the hot tub first, Megan Torgerson or John Chrysos. There was a real party atmosphere, which is great. I'm all for parties. I like parties and all that stuff. But from the actual show me the video, and I've seen some incredible photographs. I didn't buy any glasses. I didn't even go outside. It got a little bit dark here in Lisbon, but beyond that, it was like nothing.
So I bought glasses for the family, and it's funny because I put them on, and I said these glasses don't work. I can't see anything. And then I looked at the sun, and I could see the sun. It was really very cool. It
Right.
was and it's small. It was really cool seeing it in the glasses. But I was really surprised that here in Freeport, which is 97% coverage, it never really got dark. The only real change was all the dogs in the neighborhood started barking. I mean, you could hear all these dogs barking. And we had about 25 turkey vultures circling around our neighborhood
The
out of
animals know,
nowhere.
Ken. The animals know.
Now, see, these are animals that turkey vulture thought that they were eagles or some other kind of bird. They were born in the wrong bird body. And that's what it was a
They're
mental
not going to be allowed to play sports with the opposite sex.
illness. But it was fun. It was an afternoon off. I took off and I had a couple of beers and we went to the Widow's Walk on the top of the
Wow.
house. And
You
it's
really did it up, man.
I made some pigs in a blanket that were actually very
Whoa.
tasty. So it
Whoa.
was pretty fun. We had a good time. So, but it was
I
a
will tell
little
you that
underwhelming.
I marinated a ribeye and cooked over an open flame later that day. So
Well, that's good. I think you did the better of the two, but
I think I did the best job you could possibly do for the was it a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse? I forget.
solar eclipse. Next year
Oh,
we're having a lunar eclipse, but it's going to be 55 years before the next solar eclipse. So I
thank
won't.
God I will be dead and gone.
Well, I'm not sure I'll be dead and gone, but
Let's
probably.
see, 63 and 55. What's that? It's like 130.
116, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I doubt I'll make it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully, maybe you got the bionic man now. You got all these body replacement
Yeah.
parts.
Hey, I just want to make it to next week's podcast on Wednesday.
All right, good enough. And I think I've got all the logos straightened out. I think I've
We
got it.
we've
Knock
got
on
we've
wood.
got as we call it in the business, we have imaging coming too. My imaging guy has been away, so
Excellent. And I think we need to start thinking about getting guests on for
oh,
the
yeah.
last 5 minutes. So we'll put our heads together and do that. Other
Yeah,
than
I'm trying to figure that out, or you try to figure. I don't know how to do that,
oh, it's
but
easy. I send them a
okay,
Zoom and they'll appear on the screen with us.
okay.
I'm a tech wizard.
Apparently,
All right, have a great week, and we'll
see
see
you,
you next
Wizard.
week, okay? So long, bud.